Hi. Oh my god, it's Saturday morning. This is Art of Rock. We're going to talk about rock and roll and fucking fantastic things today, here, now. First and foremost, I want to send a great big thank you from my eternal soul to the Tongva people, who are the rightful owners of this land that I am on right now. And America, you have to get into the habit of finding out what land you're on and what the name of those people are, because it's very respectful. Every Saturday at 9 a.m. LA time, we are doing Art of Rock here. Join us on Twitch, and if you're on Twitch and you want to get in, just send me a message and I'll give you the Zoom link. All of this madness was made possible with angelspit's Patreon. Many of these people are here now. You could go join angelspit's Patreon. I'd really appreciate it, and it would be amazing. angelspit's new album is now like 6 months old. It's called Diesel Priest, and it will fuck your mind, because mind fucking is what it's all about. And there's also a free download of the new single which dropped yesterday called All Hail the Hustle, and there's like 9 remixes on it, so fucking go get it, because it's bloody awesome. And while you're in the mood for buying stuff, angelspit's other band called Ice Planet 9000 have a release, and it's there. Go get it. It's called Sequence One Glass Jar, and it's fucking awesome. And if you're looking for more amazing music, check that link right there. That's to his Spotify playlist, and it's bloody awesome. And there's a whole bunch of bands who are here who are on that playlist, so you should go check it out. If you like your music non-stop, you need to listen to MTV TV. They're on Twitch. Look, there is a URL for MTV TV. Go do me a damn favor and watch that shit all the time. Then, if you have a video, email them and they will play it because it's awesome. MTV TV also have a Patreon because it ain't cheap, running a 24-hour music thing. Go support that Patreon to keep these people going. We are live. I am live. You are live. Mute your damn mics unless you want to speak. Who had that question? Was it Diana? Diana,
No.
give me that fucking question.
How do you deal with SEO to try and prioritize your project being the first to come up in a search engine?
Awesome. I'm going to throw this to, thank you, computer, for telling me you're a piece of shit. I'm going to send this to Razzie, and he's going to give us wisdom. Go.
Maybe not, maybe. I wanted to jump in first because if anybody else has something modern to add, it will supersede what I'm saying. And about 1999, 2004, I wrote a little manifesto on search engine optimization for my clients because I was doing web design, and they all were like, how do I get to the top of Google? How do I get first page of Google? And I decided to get out of the SEO racket altogether and just sidestep the entire thing. I said, organic search, make sure that your stuff is written so that it includes information about your topic or area or brand. And unless you have a direct competition between one similar person in your market segment and another entity in your market segment that you want to do some vying for, I wouldn't even hire a firm. But if you do have some specific targets that you want to reach, like there are 2 video channels, for example, that are coming up consistently on searches for industrial music, you may be able to optimize that. I'm sure there's people that will take your money to do it. Otherwise, meta tags, keywords, page content that actually represents what you do, and Google won't penalize you for trying to game the system if you stick to those principles.
Thank you. That's fantastic. Ivan.
Yeah, I hate to say it, these days, if you really want to fully game the system, you have to hire in experts because it is way more complicated than it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, like meta tags and good content were enough to get you there. These days, you're not even close. So yeah, these days you bring in an expert, and the more expert they are, the more expensive they are.
Wow. Okay, thanks. If anybody else wants to throw in, Carl said looking at Mark. All right. Yeah, I have absolutely no idea. All I do is fucking put tags on everything. And I'm actually told that if you have a competition and you are wanting to compete with said competition, you also include them in your tags. So if somebody actually types in their name and looks for them, you come up in the search. As far as you guys are concerned, I would just be tagging the shit out of everything. Don't forget Twitter. I'm a big fan of Twitter, but because it's really good for tagging. Social media. Christ, I hate social media. Rezi, talk me down. I'm on the ledge.
Dana, would you mind characterizing what your actual goal is just a little bit more directly? Because sometimes that helps. There may be a practical suggestion to be made.
I mean, when we're looking for, like, our channel is all artists submitted, non-stop dark alternative music videos. But sometimes some other thing comes up. I'm just,
Well, that's minor distinction there. Like, when people are searching for music,
yeah, music video
on Google, for example, or something like that, there's, first of all, no way to beat Google's YouTube at their own game, because you're going to be up against something there. But my heart has always been in that the people that I like to work with and the people that I respond to have a niche. They have a smaller segment of the world because they're weirdos or doing something cool anyway. So being top of the page for music videos isn't it's not a useful thing to expect conversions from anyway.
Okay.
Like, people are searching for Taylor Swift, they're gonna, find Angelspit. It's like, oh, okay, maybe we have a crossover there. But if you're gonna be putting effort into it, you're really trying to probably capture people who are already looking for certain bands that you play, certain genres that you play, and not to be restrictive, but you kind of do have to focus on those things when you're doing a marketing push for your an event or in general or just brand stuff. You do have to segment. So I think, if I can wrap it up, getting a little bit smaller and then focusing on a specific goal or a specific segment or a specific type of person that you want to do a specific thing is usually how I've approached effective, natural, organic SEO. And then one other thing, I guess, while I'm rambling, people are saying meta tag like it's a foregone conclusion that everybody understands that. In your page code, there are certain tags in the head of the HTML that Google and other search engines, ostensibly, we say Google like it's the only game, will read to rank your searches and to figure out how to display the results and stuff like that. I'm not up on it at all. I just remember this stuff. So if you're in a WordPress site, there's usually plugins that you can do that'll populate those things. And if you're coding it by hand, you can look up which tags to add to the head and what to write in them.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Does anybody else have anything else they want to throw in there? If not, does anybody else have another question? Oh, it's that moment of tumbleweeds. So, here's something fun. Amazon has just launched, well, they've launched Amazon Music for a while, but now they've really started opening up the artist area. And if you have, if you've already claimed your artist on Spotify, I highly recommend you go and do the same for Amazon, which has got the fucking Amazon motor behind it, so it's going to do everything in its power to take over the world. So it's a piece of real estate that you might want to get now. I don't really have a lot to say on that. They also have a send your tracks to our curators thing, but I haven't had a chance to try that out yet because I haven't released anything since I've done this thing on Amazon. And they'll do the same thing, and they'll send you an email saying, "Hey, we noticed you've got a release coming up. Can we curate it for you?" Rezi!
I I got the same thing from Amazon a couple months ago, and I think I got my page claimed, like juggling things. But one thing that I don't think I've cracked is I have a legacy category for my artist page on YouTube for You Shriek, and I don't have an artist page. Have you or anyone had success figuring out or navigating getting your artist official artist checkmark or note on YouTube?
No. I didn't even know you could do that.
I got a thing about it, and I have not navigated yet. So maybe I'll have something to say about it in a couple of weeks when I do figure it out. But
That
right
would be
now,
great.
I'm curious.
Maybe I do. You know, it's interesting because everything you upload something, it comes up, obviously. I mean, like I've got Apple Music. God, did I even claim that? I think I did. Shit, I suck. This is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have a look.
Hold on, I'm gonna make some notes here. And as you can hear, I do have a mechanical keyboard, and I have I have competitions with my 11-year-old nephew about who has the loudest keyboard, and of course he wins because he's a gamer. That's really interesting.
Are you going to say which key switches and stuff? I mean, you broached the topic.
Key switches?
In your loud keyboard. Usually the next comment is which Cherry MX color. I don't know.
It's
talking
black
like
with
I know
red
them.
text.
All right.
What the hell do you expect? Yeah, and it glows. Look at this motherfucker. I think if I hit somebody with that, look at that. But his is like, you could get the ones that are like heaps of colors, and I don't want that. I don't want that. It looks like a unicorn is taking drugs, which is a good thing. Mine looks like Satan is taking drugs, which is a good thing. Rezzy, go.
For what I can see, angelspit does not have the check mark either, so maybe we have something to work toward and find out some community information about how to approach that. I put in for getting my community page, which is auto-generated, in the artist page, which will be manually generated, maybe a couple months ago, and I haven't heard anything or pushed forward on it. So
yeah, YouTube are amazingly good at communication. They'll say, oh, you can't, you're like when I got my copyright infringement with those guys, it was like, can I talk to someone? Can I get an appeal? And they said, you could take it to court. And it's like talking to an automated... Actually, there's a short movie called Please Wait. If you get a chance to see it, I think it's on HBO. It's really funny. It's about a kid who gets imprisoned, and everything's automated. The whole thing's automated. And that's just very depressing. Does anybody else have anything they want to talk about? Because if this shit doesn't pick up, I swear to God, I'm going to go and fucking genetically clone a unicorn. Come on! What do you got? Give me a question, damn it! Oh, look at you guys.
Tell us about the new instrument.
Okay, I will then. Okay, I will. Hold on a minute. Actually, no, I can't turn my computer around because I'm not that smart. Give me a sec. I'm even going to pull this out. Hi, now I can hear you. Thank you. This is making for really great television. So whenever I fuck with this shit, I need to put on protective eyewear because we don't want to fuck with this shit. You can hear me, right? Alright, cool. Check that out. So one of these is, these are 7 feet long. There is 5 feet of coiling with 1 foot. At the end, it's 24 gauge. And, hold on. One is single coil, one is double coil. So one of them has 1 band of copper wrapped around it, and the other has 2 bands of copper wrapped around it, which I could show you, but you can't really see. See that? And actually, one of them is like super fat copper. And the other one is two kind of thin coppers. Here's Brandon. So that's that part of it. As I mentioned, welcome. As I mentioned, I've got heaps of piano wire all over the house that's straightening out. Other fun things include... Hold on, don't run away. Hold on. So this is the big fucking thing. So this is a piece of aluminium, and it's 5 inches by 6 foot, and it sounds fucking great. It ring-a-ding-dings. And the strings are going to be suspended down this thing. There'll be 5 feet of exposed stringture. I don't even know if that's a word. And then comes to the interesting problems. Hold on a minute. So I've got a whole bunch of other little pieces that are holding everything in place, and like it's all 1/4 inch industrial aluminium, because I figured out that the amount of strain this thing's going to have on it will be a lot. We're getting into many tons or tons. I haven't figured that bit out yet, and that's why I went with the industrial aluminium, because you have to. So now I'm faced with these new very interesting dilemma of, one, getting a pickup to work for this is not easy. And I've gone through and I've had to redesign the entire fucking everything. Like the way this thing is tuned, it will not tune with regular tuning pegs, like strings, because it's 24 gauge. And that's like a coat hanger, a wire coat hanger is maybe 20 gauge. This is 24 gauge. And plus it's not regular wire, it's piano wire, which is different. It's really fucking tough. And the way it's been processed and made and everything, and da-da-da-da-da. So I have to figure out, I've redesigned the way I will be able to do me a favor. Hey Diana, are you modding Twitch right now? Can you get rid of that shit? Thanks, man. You're the best. How to actually tighten the wire, tighten the strings. So I've had to redesign a system using industrial things that will be able to carry tons or many hundred pounds worth of pressure, because regular ones with their itty bitty cogs will not. I did look into the tuning pegs, traditional piano tuning pegs, but I couldn't get straight answers. I've been talking to 3 luthiers and 1 company in Tennessee that are piano specialists, and their thing is the mechanics of a piano. And when I say to them, I'm building this thing, they go, why do you want to do that? Why just want a piano? It's like, and then I talk to the luthiers and they all go, wow, man, that sounds really cool. It ain't going to work. Here's 10 reasons. Other fun things. So the wire itself is going to be about 1.1 inches above the deck. So here is a rail pickup. It's a rail humbucker pickup. I have 2 of these plus 2 bass pickups. I don't know how they're going to work, because the frequencies this thing is putting out is, I believe the low strings are, they're going to be vibrating at 50 cycles, I think, and there's going to be 1 more or 2 more that will be at 22 cycles. So this thing is deep as Johnny McFuck. So having 2 little humbuckers, I also have 2 bass, and big fat thanks to Vince, actually. Vince was one of the luthiers who helped me with this shit. 2 bass pickups that will be seated in such a way that they'll actually be moving. The string will be long ways, not across like that. It will be long ways. So it's hold on a minute. It's endless fun. And I don't know how I'm also putting like maybe 2 other Mezzo-Piezo transducer pickup mics on all of this shit. So, just to pick up everything. But my understanding of these instruments is they are incredibly loud. Because it's aluminium, and aluminium, because of the way the atoms are structured and everything else, it's got a really shiny, bright, loud sound. Aluminium, as you heard me donging it, and if you've ever been somewhere where they're putting up scaffolding, that shit, is loud. So there are 10,000 things that I have no idea, but it's funny, man. I'm in InDesign. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm going through designing, and I can only squeeze 11 strings on the fucking thing. A lot of them will wrap the strings around a bottom nut, so you can double up. I can't do that because the piano wire is wire, and it ain't going to be flexible like that. So this is how it has to be. That's fine. Yeah, and every time I go further and further into this, just go, wait, I can't do that because I need 4-inch clearance plus another 1/2-inch clearance because blah, 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 blah. And therefore, if I'm tightening this with a socket, I need extremely deep-throated sockets, a deep socket, because as I fucking tune the thing up, the screw's getting higher, blah, 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 and I can't do this shit by hand, and because these things are so close to each other, I need a socket and not a fucking spanner, because I'm not going to, a wrench, I'm not fucking sitting there with a wrench, because that would drive me fucking insane. So, looks like Carl is once again finding the most difficult way possible. Of course I could have just sampled the fucking thing, but no. I had to build it. And it's funny, the most expensive thing were the tuners. And I have to send them back because and it's great now the price of this thing has now halved. They were more expensive than the fucking aluminium. Yeah, good fun. Rezi, ask me your question.
Yes, you actually just jumped onto my comment, and you're already returning the tuning machines, so I guess this is the direction you're going, but my sense was that the tension that you're going to have the strings under probably exceeds the friction that you want for the spindle part of the tuning machine, and they're going to be counterproductive. So as you tighten it and increase the tension, the spindle is going to be pushed up against the bushing and bind so much that it's not going to be an effective thing. You've probably come to that conclusion. And thus, talking pin block, and we were talking earlier about whether the pins are steel in aluminium or some other substance. And I don't know if you got to the next step, which is they're usually square drive as opposed to hex or any other kind of shape bolt head. So it's like a full inch or so of grip that you get on it. So when you have the tuning pin and the piano tuning hammer, it's got really good torque and grip on that thing, and also a lot of leverage because it's a very long handle, and you can actually and it'll just, it'll break the friction coefficient and click, 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 and you'll get scary amounts of torque on it that way. And as the tension increases, it increases the friction of the pin block, so it's like it works together with, even though you're making more tension, the tuning machine or peg itself has more friction from the force pulling on it.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I'm not actually, like, what I'm doing is I've got industrial strength 1/4-inch eyelet bolts. So it's like a 4-inch bolt, but it's got an eyelet on the end of it instead of a hex nut. And so the plan is one end of it is going to be wrapped around a hex nut, 5 feet down there, going through about nearly an inch of, just over 1/2 inch of aluminium. So it ain't going nowhere. And then it's going to be stretched up 5.5, 6 feet away. And it's going to go, the top of it's going to go around that the eye bolt, and then I have to crimp the fucking things closed, because there's a knack with tying off these fucking things, and I don't know the knack, so I'm just crimping them. Hopefully that won't break. Then I have to, and because they're 4-inch, I've got enough travel. Like, obviously when I do it, I have to pull it as hard as I fucking can. Then jack that motherfucker up.
It's interesting.
Yeah, and then there's
I'm afraid of crimping it with the tensions and stuff, and you're already wearing your safety goggles.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to compromise the integrity of the metal, but
and it's
interesting.
It's not a lot of, and if that fucks up, then, you know, I've got enough
testing.
Yeah, I've got enough extra stuff. Like on the big strings, I don't, and they were $22 each. So actually, the strings weren't as expensive as I thought they would be. But you know, if you're restringing a grand piano, they're expensive. And these are some kind of mega bullshit Steinway quality ones. Like, they're big, and that's the thing, is that with this, normally when I'm doing this stuff, it's like, I found it at a junkyard and cutting edges and da-da-da-da-da. But with this one, I've just gone, man, I don't want to do that. Like, I want to create this, the instrument's called a blaster beam, and it was invented by a guy in LA and in the late 70s, and it's a lot on the soundtrack to, for example, Star Trek, the motion picture, which I actually fucking love. Fuck everyone who doesn't. And also Cloverfield Lane, it's basically all blaster beam. And those things, you know, when those guys make them, they're 12, some of the small ones are 8 feet, but they're 12 to 20 fucking feet long. And just think of the logistics of how do you transport that thing around. So that's why I've had to go with, because if I used regular guitar strings, I'd get down to about 220 cycles, and I want it way fucking deeper than that. So that's why I had to go 24 gauge. But I'm going to be doing lots of videos and stuff. I'm putting all that shit on the Patreon, and I'm going to have a whole mud map, like the whole breakdown, the whole budget of it, absolutely everything. I'm putting that on the Patreon eventually as well. So if you're crazy enough to want to build one, I will try and talk you out of it. Actually, no, fuck it, man, do it. It's so much fun. And here's everything I learnt. And the way I've done it is totally different to the way everyone else does it, because reasons. And plus, those guys like have 18 strings on theirs, like 24 strings and shit. And often there's a 6 foot to a foot, 6 inches to a foot wide. So, yeah, spaceman. So that rendered everyone silent. Does anybody want to ask me a question about that? Where's his shoes?
Do you have plans for pickup layout and placement before you actually mount it to stuff to do your testing and shit?
So the pickups are going to go really close to the, I guess you'd call it the head? No, the bottom. What do you call the bottom of a guitar?
No, you got a bridge and you got a nut.
All right, so which is the part where the pickups normally go?
That's closer to the bridge.
All right, the Brooklyn Bridge. As you can see, I know so fucking much about guitars. So down that end, because the pickups are neck pickups, and I can't have them too far up because I have no idea what the fuck's going to happen. They're going to go maybe about 6 inches or so from the nut, where your hand goes if you're a guitarist. It's going to be played like it's a regular guitar, like this hand's keeping rhythm and this hand's changing the pitch. And all the strings are tuned to the same note, except 2 of them are going to be an octave, maybe 2 lower, I don't know yet. And the bass guitar, the bass pickups are probably going to be closer to the bottom of it. And I've part of the whole thing is that when you, like, this machine is built to be slammed. And when you're whacking it down, I have to be careful of how far that pushes down compared to where the pickups are. I've built a spring lower hiding mechanism thing that I haven't implemented it yet. And the other thing is I want to get all this shit, because normally when you're doing a DIY project, it ends up looking like Swiss cheese because you drill the shit out of it because you got shit wrong. I don't want to do that with this, because the thing about aluminium is when you drill into it, it changes the tone. And I actually, for once in my life, I want to do something beautiful. And if you're bored, go Google blaster beam. Blaster as in pew pew pew. Beam as in pew pew pew. And that's what I'm building. And you'll see they all did it a really easy way. Yeah, well, that's another thing, is that I've got the it's set up to go through distortions and stuff. Like every time I hear these things, they're raw. It's just and everybody says you need a fucking good pickup, and that's why I have 2 pickups, because they're gonna sit like that. There's it's a 5-inch spread, so they have to be set out. So one's gonna be hard left, one's gonna be hard right, and we hope they won't phase. So I'll get that surround sound beam happening. But yeah, it's all set up to go through all the distortion pedals and everything out. And this is another fun thing, is that talking to a guitar tech saying, okay, well, normally they go through this, pickups all go through this little mechanism that controls volumes and lets you switch and all that shit. I don't want to do that. I want 4 outputs individually for each pickup. I want each pickup to have its own output, so I can be routing stuff around and all that shit. Because I've got a mixing desk set up for this creature. So yeah, that's what's going on.
And is this eventually going to go on tour with you?
No, fuck no. I'm not taking this thing on tour. But I did find out that it can be played, like I can put it underwater, because the piano wire is copper, which you shouldn't really put underwater, and stainless steel. Mostly everything on this thing's stainless steel and aluminium, and these things don't rot. And I just take the pickups off and unscrew all that shit, because I've always wanted to do an underwater piece with the dancer, like to actually be underwater. But the one thing is, it's loud as fuck. And when you're underwater and something's loud, it's even louder. It's like piercing your fucking brain loud. But hearing shit underwater is just the most incredible thing. But underwater earplugs, I don't know. Braindan!
Sorry if you already covered this. How is it when you change the pitch? Does it have like a slide you clamp on?
No,
kind of
it's
the strings to kind of just move it like.
A very good question. So, and that also one that's now rolling across the floor. This is my slide.
Oh, nice.
This is one. Yeah, I know. This is one of the wickedest slides in the world. And the cool thing about it is you can also bow this fucker. Hold on a minute. So, changing pitch with that one while you're playing it with that one. And I've also got like rubber mallets and stuff like that, because like I said, it's loud. Plus, if you sit this dude on it and then you whack it, that will send everything off to reverb. And it's just stunning. And then you bow it. Where's my bow? It's over there somewhere. I have to be careful because I have a massive split in my pants right now. These are my studio pants, and you all know what that's like. They're falling apart. So normally that's why I don't normally get up during these things. Yeah, but
hey, can you bend over and pick something up over there?
Sure. You drop the soap. So if you sit it there and then you bow it, it sets off. Well, hopefully. But I've already tested all this stuff with the bow, which my bow is a piece of shit, because I use it horribly on all this shit, and it gets fucked up. Did I show you the other thing I've got? Did I show you my? No, I didn't show you my other thing. It involves me not bending over. Hold on a minute. So this is the other thing. So that's as you can see, it's already got wow, I can hear myself resonate on this. It's a radar dish. Hold on a minute.
It looks like a direct TV dish or something.
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
And And here's my bow. And as you can see, my bow is wrecked. Do you know how much bows cost? A lot of fucking money. Hold on, Oh yeah, everybody just put on a big smile then, didn't they? It's just horror movie soundtrack. So what I'm going to do with this guy is I'm going to get a piece of wood. And you see that rectangular one is hollow. I'm going to put a piece of wood down there like that. And then, so it will extend down about 2 feet and up about 2 feet. And then I'm going to run a series of strings. Yes, I will be using strings this time. So this thing will have several different strings on it. So it'll be kind of like a cello from hell. And it's great. It's even got a thing where you can mount it. So you can play it like that. But that's like Project 27. I haven't got to that yet. Excuse me. Hold on.
Are those going to be resonant strings, or are you going to be bowing them?
No,
that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it does.
I'm so into that.
I might, because I do a lot of like I'll use springs and stuff as well. But this thing is so beautifully rattly. And the great thing about springs is it's a spring reverb. Hold on a minute. I don't know if I've ever shown you this one. So Diana, you've seen this one. I built this one for Nosferatu. 4 outputs. And I have to put my glasses on because the spiky things go in your face. There are 4 pickup mics. There's 2 on the bowl and 2 on the body. If you look along here, there's springs. And I can try and play that with this. And there's 3 different size springs. There's also springs, so these are 1/8-inch things that I got from Home Depot, just rods, and there's springs connecting each of them, because this bowl, it's got a great resonance. I picked that up at a garage sale in Kenosha, Wisconsin for like $1. And this thing, it screams. Hold on. What's great is that it growls. I put this on, hold on. Like, I got no resin on my bow, so it's not... You hear it. It's in there. And this guy also, like, you put this guy through, you compress it up a bit and then throw it through a distortion pedal, and it sounds great. It's really, really scary. And the great thing about the spikes is, I mean, obviously the spikes are tuned. Like, you know. Man, that's just fucking suggests music to me. And because they're not tuned, although I think one of them's on a D or something. Why is it on D? Why? Why is it D? Why? Because it's the saddest key of all. Fuck, I failed you guys so badly. Ask me a question, Rezzy.
How did you affix the rods to the bowl in that one?
So I've put, if you look in the bottom, I drilled holes in it. There's a screw. Step 1 is there was a big screw holding the bowl in place, which I think is loose. Not anymore. And then I just placed it in there and drilled straight into the metal, straight into the wood. These guys are only about maybe half an inch, because this is about an inch thick. Check out the decoupage. Oh yeah, go that decoupage. Because the instruments have to look cool. And so they go about half an inch into this. So as you play it, the wood is resonating. And it's fascinating the difference between the resonant quality of this wood. I've got 4 cigar boxes. Cigar boxes, man. I'm telling you. And this is the difference in resonant quality, because I've got a tuning fork that I like to test things with. The aluminium just sounds from hell. Like, it sounds from hell. But each of these guys, like this guy's actually kind of warm. Although this is just some shitty piece of pine. And then there's the toy boxes. But that's my whole thing, is that, you know, every time I make these things, it's like, this costs $5, maybe 10. And it took a weekend or so to make this thing. I remember when I used to live in Chicago, there's an Ace Hardware, really close to me, and the guy got to know me. So every time I went in there, he'd go, and he was Irish. "Hey, Carl, I found this thing for you." That sounded Scottish, and I apologize. And he, every time, because he knew that I liked making instruments, and whenever I'd go there, it was like, I'm making something weird. And then he'd find these things and go, "Oh, you can just have them." And like, I'd send him photos of the stuff, and I don't know, it's good fun. But anyway, and the reason this has got 4 outputs is for surround sound. So left, right, and back, left, right. And what's fantastic is that when you play around the bowl, you will hear the sound moving around the room. It's fucking awesome, fucking creepy, and fucking effective. And that's the other reason I've got, you know, so many pickups on that fucking big thing as well, is I do want to make something that I can do surround sound with, because that shit's sexy. Oh, thank you, Diana. Somebody asked me a question, because I fucking love building instruments, because I have no idea what I'm doing. It's so much fun. Quick.
How many projects have you started?
The same amount that I've finished. I'm pretty good like that, because I get, you know, it's my brain. Hold on, I'm going to put this thing down. I've got, I haven't technically started on the radar dish yet, on the home sat dish. And I haven't really started on the cigar boxes, but I did buy them for like, in a second-hand shop for like, once again, it was like $1 or something. And they sound great. And the great thing about cigar boxes is that they're thin, they already resonate, you can just drill stuff into them so easily. But yeah, and then they're usually nice wood. I don't know what sort of wood. And just this bow, look at that. It's just crap. Bows cost hundreds of fucking dollars, and they are not made for what I do with them. Every time I play that dish, it just goes like, oh my god. Anyway, there you go.
Get a cheap one. Get a really inexpensive one and just destroy it.
It is, and that's the... Well, I guess this thing's like lasted me nearly fucking 10 years.
That's not a bad ROI.
That's not a bad
if you amortize that.
The fucker of it is that it's bowing in too much. I need it to bow up, not in. Because when you tighten it, it touches the fucking thing. I'm really good friends. One of the good things about working for an opera company is I can get people's bows and stuff. Like, every time there's a dead bow, I can grab it. Sometimes, but yeah, sometimes I can't. Come on, ask me a question. I love talking about this shit.
I have a question, but unrelated to... It's not directly related to you building instruments.
Sorry, ask me that again?
Oh, I have a question, but it's unrelated to you actually building instruments.
Sure.
Okay, well, not just you, but everyone, how do you go about creating new sounds? Do you go at it with, like, an idea in mind, or do you kind of just mess around until something sounds good?
I'm going to throw the floor open, because that's a great question. Rezi, yours, go.
I buy a new synthesizer. Done. Joking aside.
Hold on, were you joking?
Okay, you got me. No, I actually haven't been buying stuff. I've got a Dave Smith instrument, and I've got a Perlman instrument. Those are my 2 synthesizers. I've really got it under control. No more Rolands and ARP.
Oh, Alan Perlman.
Yeah.
Which ARP?
It's a Omni.
Fantastic.
I need to fix the power supply right now, but it's a string ensemble with a bass thing.
Oh my god. The phaser in that thing is beautiful. It's a phaser, right?
Multi-stage chorus kind of deal with phaser. It's got the two. Yeah.
My god.
Yeah. It's a super instrument when the power supply works. But I'm after about 20 years of finding new sounds, kind of lost the spark of excitement about finding new sounds, and I got to like almost decades of really refining sounds. So there's like nothing new under the sun, but I can make these sounds sound better. So I got very focused on, hopefully this is still an answer, what the edges of the capabilities of an instrument are, what the thing does at its limits, what it does if you patch a thing that is unexpected into another thing, where, say, you take the audio out and patch that into the CV in. I mean, basic stuff, but you sometimes get some unexpected and chaotic things, and component two of that is just having a recording going while I'm doing that, so that I can capture and segment out the funnest parts that came out of it. But I think that when that first started, I had one of my first workstations was a PV DPM3, which is like a sample-based, mostly player, and it definitely had parameter ranges that they expected you to use, but then certain ones that would definitely glitch. And they would, if you're modulating the pitch of a sampled oscillator by something more than the range that it expected, it would drive it past the sample RAM and read something else and get noises and dirt. So the pushing things beyond what you'd expect to do and recording it, always, so that you have a record of what you did and can go segment it out and keep it.
It's bloody awesome. Brandon, how do you make your awesome sounds?
A lot to what Rezi was saying, kind of pushing things past their limits. I do, since I work mostly in my DAW and I use Ableton, just like take a sound and put 20 instances of the same distortion on it. Or just do stupid things you normally wouldn't do, and put a limiter on your master channel first, or you will blow the top of your head off. And like I said, like it just starts to make sure you're recording, kind of thing, and then it just starts pushing it past its limits, what it can handle. You get glitches, fun stuff like that. When I first started, I had back in the day, I had a Kai S20 sampler, which is this craptastic little sampler that you really couldn't do much with, but you could, down pitch things. It didn't have any time stretching, so when you down pitched it, it stretched it out, and that really kind of taught me a lot about how that worked, and just when you take sounds down that far, everything starts to sound like a sinking submarine. But then you notice all those weird little glitches and pops and transients and things that you just don't hear when things are moving past you that fast. I'm waiting for my new hardware sampler to arrive, hopefully one day.
What'd you get?
To get back into that, I ordered back in January. I ordered the Roland SP 404, the Mark II thing, and there's no word on shipping on it, the whole microchip thing, but I did recently manage to score on Reverb a K2000S, so I'm kind of about to lose my mind.
Welcome to the fucking club.
I couldn't be more excited about that. It's like, ooh, that's going to be nuts. So hopefully I can wrap my head around that thing. You're talking about it really inspired the hell out of me, because that was always kind of a grail piece of gear for me, and I'm like, oh yeah. But just taking stock sound, drum sounds, bit crushing, resampling, constantly just, trashing things and then trying to put them back together in a way that makes sense. I know that's speaking really abstractly, but I do a lot of just resampling in my own music of things just to get variations on themes. And, you've created your drum loop. Now I'll print it, record it, and then go in and rearrange that, glitch it out, re-record it, rearrange that, glitch it out, automate filters, do all that kinds of stuff, re-record it, just keep going until, what I wind up with, it rarely resembles the original thing. Go back and do that with something that's already complete, that you've already written, remix yourself. That's just because it's fun. And I hope that was helpful.
That was awesome, man. Thank you. Ivan, I want to go in after Rezi. Go. Ivan.
Oh, okay. Making sounds is it's such a very big topic. When I'm suffering from insomnia in the middle of the night, I will, just bust open the door and then was that a circular saw?
Yeah.
Okay. I will fully admit I'm as Roland Cloud as it gets. If there's something new on Roland Cloud, I've got it by default. Nice to have, but nothing quite as nice as just lounging around for an hour and a half, making new patch from scratch with the Jupiter 20 because Jupiter 8. Geez, I didn't sleep that much last night. Jupiter 8, just Jupiter 8 it up for the evening, until like 4 a.m. and maybe something comes out that's worth saving, and maybe some stuff got saved that wasn't worth saving, but it's there for you later on. And then where is it? There it is. And there's this bad boy, out in the wild. Today, I got a 25-yard dumpster delivered for the summer projects. So it's sitting out in the yard empty right now. And I'm fairly certain that when I go out there later on with a big mallet, I'm going to get some cool stuff. And it'll be fun. I hit a big piece of metal with a mallet. And then, other nice thing about being in southeastern Wisconsin is, and in a very old house, is, my basement is, Cream City brick. It's a Milwaukee thing. And the house is old enough that the back room's got a dirt floor. So there's this wonderful dead reverb that comes off the walls in that room. And eventually, my goal is to go buy like a whole bunch of, secondhand store glass, set up the mic, and just smash glass against the walls. Because I can make as much of a mess in there as I want. It's not a big deal. I might need to wear safety glasses though. And then once you've got that, now you're in the land of fun. I've also been really falling in love with the idea of buying a used PCM 24. No, not PCM 41, the lexicon that Skinny Puppy was using back in the day. Just because like that's a delay that you can play. And I find myself really, really falling in love with the idea of needing one.
Okay, thank you very much. In that skip, also use a basketball. Boom, a basketball. Somebody is trimming the verge near me, so we just have to grin and bear that beautiful industrial sound that I'm going, man, I want to sample that shit. Rezi, what do you got? And I'm in after you.
Mark, when you posed that question for discussion, I'm curious, what are you envisioning as the tools that we're even talking about to try to maybe focus in with some specifics, practical?
Okay, yeah. So my intention was
you've got your synthesizer in front of you. You've got a completely blank patch. Everything's default. You know, do you have something in mind when you start working, or do you just, you know, let's twirl some knobs, that sounds good, let's try these knobs, go on?
Cool. I think that there are two answers then for that. I usually don't have to spend much time. Sorry, when I have an idea for something, oh, this needs something to fill this thing. Usually, I can get there pretty quickly, and then spend the next 6 months refining it. But for the latter, starting out with a blank patch and having fun with a synth, I would, and I think maybe I've mentioned this before to you specifically, isolating things about this synth that you're using, starting with really knowing how to take everything else out of the signal path, no envelopes, no filters, no modulation operators or anything, and going through, if it's just a basic analog or emulations, going through your square and triangle and sine and hearing what their qualities are, then adding in what happens when I modulate this, what happens when I filter this in isolation, and really getting your mind and fingers onto what happens to the sound. And then it sort of shortcuts, or gives you a shortcut to that other scenario when, hey, I need a sound, and then you can actually rapidly dial it in. So two answers that are different, but super effective long term.
Once again, I apologize for the grinding in the background. Oh, joyous LA in the summertime. What I always do is go, okay, so this is what I want in the sound. Like, I have an idea in my brain. I always have an idea in my brain, but it's incredible in my brain. But it's really important to go, I'm prepared to lose that, lose my brain, but also to lose that idea. Don't get caught up on it, because as soon as you start fucking around, you're going to come up with something cooler and more fun, or funner. Like at the moment, this morning, for example, I'm working on a lead synth sound, and the sound had to be percussive because it's playing like dunk, 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 like that. So I can't be like, and I can't do that modulation thing because reasons. But I also wanted it to change. Rezi, can you take over for a bit? I need to deal with something really quickly.
Yes, sure thing. I think one of the solutions Carl would bring to bear on this also is adding modules. This is just a guess at another approach, and being able to patch things into other things physically, and say you've got an oscillator module in your Euro rack, and then you've got a distortion of some sort and a couple of envelopes. Doing different directions of patching those things together and getting really caught up in modular synthesis, I think would be maybe in synthesizer terms, the biggest answer to what can I do for new sounds, because where most of the time a typical hardware unit is going to have its built-in selection of things with a fixed oscillator section and envelope section and maybe some sort of saturation or something like that. You can very easily patch any different kinds of oscillators, whether it's with Vactrols or a digital emulation or a sample-based player or something that you put memory cards into to play back your stuff, and have that be your oscillator. And if you're opposed to spending $5,000 a year or month over the rest of your life permanently, you can go really far with Ableton Live or Bitwig Studio or even any DAW as far as how to do this exact same thing, because most of those DAWs now will happily work as basically modular environments, giving you some freedom to patch things into other things. And affect the same sort of exploration and complete overhaul of your system by swapping out parts of that signal chain. Ivan, what have you got to say?
Yeah, I was just going to mention, actually, VCV Rack is amazing and free. Like you can just download that. That's fine. You can get the pro version, and it works inside your DAW, which is even better.
VCV Rack?
Yeah, VCV Rack. Love it. That was how I learned modular. I played with VCV Rack for like a year before I, bought my first modules and built my first case. Now I've got to build a new case because that case is all full, and I need to figure out where I'm going to put it. And I'm just saying, I might need to. There's some more modules out there that I like.
Yeah, filling your case is the goal state of every time you buy a new one.
The Zoya effects module, it's sexy. I can't. Maybe I need it. It'd be okay, right? That's fine.
How many units do you have in your case right now? What's the layout?
Well, they're 186 HP rails, and then there's 4 of those. So, 12 units tall and 186 wide.
So when I say $5,000, are we talking a year or a month on budget for your habit? You don't have to answer.
Somewhere in between,
Cool.
I mean, depends. And everybody keeps ruining me on that because, as soon as Edward Casewell opens his mouth, I end up buying more modules.
I think we should have a full discussion about everybody's Eurorack or whatever their modular rigs are. The Moog original 100 System 100. I don't know, because I'm really interested to show your Eurorack. Mark, you had your hand up. Is it down now, or?
I was going to mention something else.
Sorry, go ahead.
I've got the nothing quite as if you just bored messing around. The the Korgs and my Take 5 have the just generate a random patch button, and that can be super inspiring. Quite often you'll get something that you want nothing to do with, but every once in a while it will find gold. At which point you just tweak it a little, and now it's like platinum, and amazing, which is truly awesome. And also, like you were saying, if you're going into it knowing what it is that you're seeking, what you need right now, it is a lot. If you know the synthesis method that tool uses, then it's actually pretty easy to get to the end goal, just because now you're just following the rules. But the best magic is usually something between the random button and or just playing around and seeing what sounds cool at the moment.
I absolutely step through presets just to see what they ship it with. There's no doubt about that. I like and then go in, if it's a parametric synth, and to look at what some of those parameters are set to achieve that, and if it's a one with a graphic display, look at what the topology of how they have the things connected together and get a sense of what the beast can do. Sometimes read the manual.
Oh no, I'd absolutely read that. Also, watch out for the Hydrasynth Deluxe, because it'll take 3 months to get through all the presets.
I'm so not into 1,000 presets as a marquee feature on the box. Okay, great.
I think it mostly was they had room to do it, so they just did it.
Yeah. Braden, what do you got?
I was just gonna say, they say owning a boat is basically having a hole in the water that you throw money into. That is the same thing with modular synth. So you can quickly get in the weeds with that. That being said, it is super cool, but can be cost prohibitive. But at vcvrack.com, it's free, and it will teach you. I thought I knew, about synthesis, and then I started learning, signal flow and plugging things into other things to make things happen, not just accidentally, but with intention. And I mean, that was a huge eye opener. That being said, as far as sitting down and like knowing, most of the time I'm just experimenting. I find if I'm like, I'm going to write a very angry song, and all the sounds I make are like butterflies humming on my tummy. You know, it's never ever what I set out to create, or I think I'm going for. And but I'm sure there's a path to that. I just still haven't found it. But somebody mentioned just hitting the synths with like randomized patch features. I think Noise Engineering is a modular synth company, and they make awesome modules. But they also have they started doing plugins, and they have a bunch of free ones that you can download. And I'm pretty sure those have a randomize feature on them. So if you want to just roll the dice and just a lot of what you get will not be usable in a conventional sense, but it's still pretty cool. And it just to throw a curveball your way.
I would like to throw another curveball and say that I have intentionally resisted getting into modular collecting for decades. My entire adult life, I have nothing against it. I think it is an absolutely wonderful thing that has had a resurgence in our lifetimes. I think it's incredible that there are so many boutique companies making more than just the FPGA. This is a emulation of something in a rack. There are people doing discrete, hand-wired, beautiful, handmade modules. I think the world that exists in is better for all of us, but it's not for everybody. I would waste a lot of time doing things that aren't productive and not... Let me just say, I have enough trouble finishing albums in a decade without another hobby of collecting parts and experimenting that deeply. So respect to anybody that can keep that in control and hasn't lost their home and sanity going down that path, because it is it's precarious.
Yes, it snowballs very quickly, and that's where when I started, it went where I had an enormous, rack. Now I've pared it down to like a tip-top Mantis case that's got a lot of holes in it because I've just gotten rid of so much stuff. And then, but IntelliGel made those little boxes that are like this big, and they got like a 1U row on the bottom or top, depending on which way you orient it. And that can be just endless hours of fun. And to your point, you can just crawl up your own ass for days, bleeping and blooping, and and then you're afraid to unplug anything because you don't want to lose the patch.
My patch.
And,
take a photo, both sides.
or you touch the wires and everything is different. And you're just like, fuck.
Right. That said, I think if we haven't in a long time, I think a show your modular would be a fun project, whether it's right for the show or better for Discord. I'm certainly interested.
That'll be our OnlyFans.
Awesome.
There it is.
There you go. Because it is masturbation and pornography. Thank you for holding the fort, Razzie. So, Mark, I'm sorry if I'm doubling up on what anyone said. So, step one is I make sound. And I do a rough carving of what I think the song needs to be. And then a whole bunch of mistakes happen. And I play with a whole bunch of stuff. And I come up with some cool shit. I'm working on a sound at the moment where, as I mentioned, it had to be a lead sound, but it was I wasn't happy with it, and because I've started putting a whole bunch of random things in there, or slow LFOs that are gently changing things and stuff like that. And another thing I'm really big at is a controller, just one controller, that controls a whole bunch of things. For example, it might be the modulation wheel on the Rev 2 turns up the sub oscillator, it turns up the chorus, and it turns out the spread. And it might start increasing there might be a really fast LFO on the shape of the actual wave file, of the oscillator shape of the waveform, and it might speed that thing up. So it's one sound. So as the song goes on, this sound, and it might turn up the filter a bit as well, obviously. As that song goes on, the modulation wheel comes up and the sound starts getting crazy. And on the sound I'm working on at the moment, it's similar. It's turning up the amount of frequency modulation, so the sound becomes more intense. And it's also turning up something else as well. It's also turning up the amount going through a reverb. I've got a modular spring reverb. So as I turn up that controller, it throws more of the sound into the reverb. And that's really cool because as the sound gets more crazy, it sort of gets a bit too crazy, but because it's diving into the reverb more, it smooths it out. And that's also really fun because you can start, instead of fading a sound up, you can fade it in from the reverb. So you have this house is fucking all systems go today, I swear to God. Now Mordecai's yelling at me. Yeah, as you bring that controller down and it comes out of the reverb, the sound becomes clear again. And stuff like that's really fun when you've got like short phrases followed by a long thing. So it might go da 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 da. So what you'd be doing is you go da 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 da. And the thing to remember is that people are going to remember, if you've got a really catchy theme, get it into their heads, but as the song goes on, you can start fucking it up more. So it still plays the same notes, da 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 da, but that controller that's pushing it into fuckage slowly increases. It's a fun thing to do. And by the time you do all that, you end up with a sound that's really alive. So yeah, it's interesting because it's funny that I've got a filter that is, the thing I love about a modular synthesizer is it allows you to explore mistakes. Other synths don't really so much. Like, that's what's great about the K2000 is if you change the algorithm, it's like, what the fuck is this? But on the modular, it's this just wonderful thing where, there's something about the sound right now I don't like. Because I think it's to do with the filter. So I'll just change filter. And it's funny, I don't really have that many filters. I used to. I just got rid of a bunch of them. I've just left with the go-to filters for me. But yeah, and I've got one filter that doesn't matter what you put through it, it's going to sound fantastic. And that's a CMS clone of the ARP 2500 Colin filter, which is the best sounding filter I have. It's better than a fucking 901 Moog. It's so good. It's so fucking good. It does something to the sound. It transforms it. It takes it back to... It sounds like 1971. Because that's my thing about so much modular stuff is... So I've got these oscillators that are built on the same circuitry of a Buchla or something. I don't fucking know. But they made them solid. They made them stable. And I was talking to my mate Steve, who's a tech guy. He works, he does repairs for Moog and some stuff for fucking everyone. And Steve was saying, and I have this theory, we have this theory, that it's different because the accuracy of the circuit board itself, nowadays they are laser etched, and they're all really neat. But back in the good old days, it was you draw it with a Sharpie, then you dip that in a bath of acid, and because of all of the inaccuracies in there, it adds to the sound, and that's the only thing that we can come up with why old stuff sounds better than new stuff. Because if you look at the board of an old Moog, or an old ARP, or an old something, those boards are dubious. They're not like these beautiful new boards because, if you're going to design a modular synth these days, you design it, you have software to figure it out, then you send it off to China and they print it to you, send it back, you test it, okay, thanks, I'll have 1,000. Back in the old days, they used to hand dip them. Can you hear that cat? She's not happy with her food. She's sick of pate. My God. So she's howling at me. Anyway, so be open to mistakes. Know what you want and go in there. And also, like, you know, if you have 3 oscillators, have one of them set to like 2 octaves above, and have that octave that it's randomly jumping between 1, 2, and 3 octaves or something. Have a thing where, you know, where you turn that wheel up to make it sound crazier. Maybe one of the oscillators tunes up to a 5th. So when it's all the way up there, it's a 5th above it. Doing stuff like that's really fun. Listen to Hooked on Bark by Walter Carlos. Listen to that album and listen to the sounds. It was done in '67. It was the album that broke the synthesizer. Broke the mode.
Hooked on Bach or Switched on Bach?
Switched on Bach.
Okay.
Listen to it. Listen to the sounds they're pulling. No one does those sounds anymore, man. And making those sounds on a modular these days is hard. Because modulars don't sound the same. They don't sound the same. And people go, oh, they don't sound the same because, you know, whatever. And it's go, look, here's fucking time capsule proof. They don't sound the same. What, Wendy... Do I call it Wendy or is it Walter? I'm calling it Wendy.
Yeah, it's Wendy.
What Wendy did in that album is so good. It's just like, you know, that they really were. This is the vanguard of modular synths or synths in general. But you listen to the sounds where they've got this super high harmonic or very resonant blah 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 thing. It's great. It's so gloriously experimental. I'm going to shut up now, Rezi.
I don't even know where I'm jumping off from this, but I've been looking up which synths use the CEM 3340 and just sort of taking a little trip down memory lane and looking at some of the discrete components and, you know, the obviously hand-drawn circuit traces and stuff that are surrounding them and the different ways that they're integrated and the, you know, compensation for temperature and, you know, different devices that are glued on top of them to control for tuning drift and stuff. And it's like, I don't know, there's a warm tone-wise, of course, spot in my heart for where this all came from. And that's certainly a deeper connection to where modular rack systems have gone and come from. But, man, Prophet 5 or an OBXA or something, I just... Why continue?
Yeah.
Once you're there, or Jupiter 8, really. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, they're fucking beautiful machines. Ivan, what you got?
With in particularly old hardware or like vinyl records, it's those micro imperfections that we're not really conscious of, but our subconscious is pays extreme attention to that because those little differences sound important. And, you know, our little monkey brains are like, oh, that makes it even better because now it's more important. And I've got a Soviet.
Vostok.
No, I've got a Alita monosynth.
Jesus.
From like 1980, but you know it was built on premium 60s technology, and everything about it is it's amazing because it's able to do the gritty in ways that nothing else I have can even come close to. Just box of rocks getting dropped off a cliff kind of gritty. And at the same time you can turn those oscillators up, clean up the filter a little bit, and all of a sudden this is like golden honey from God. It just so beautiful. And it's like, how do you do that? You weird old hardware that I'm afraid to move because I don't want to break anything on it because everything about it is irreplaceable.
Thank you. So, back to the real world, and thank you very much. So, listen to an album, Mark, back to your original question, and go, I want that sound. And then emulate that sound, because you've got enough hardware that you can figure something else out. You know what? Modern synths can do shit that old synths could not do. I can make my Rev 2 sound like a CS80. I can. And a lot... Oh, you fucking can. It's a great synth. But you can't make a CS80 sound like a Rev 2. I can make my Mini Moog Model E sound like a Model D, but you cannot make a D sound like an E. Because there's so much shit you can do with the new stuff. And I'm all about old stuff, and I'm all about modular. My advice would be listen to an album and go, I want that sound, and you try and replicate it. Start from scratch and replicate up, and listen to the album. And this is why I love the history of music technology. Excuse me, is because you listen to a sound. Okay, I'm going to rant. Stranger Things, the new season of Stranger Things is set in 1987. And the Emacs came out in 1987. And there's a lot of Emacs in it. They're replicating either Emacs or Emulator 2, because all the kids are like 15 now. Jesus, they're my age. And that's what I really love about Stranger Things as Depeche Mode, is that as the years progressed, so did the technology. See, in the mid-late 80s, Depeche Mode were doing Black Celebration and Music for the Masses, and that was all PPG, emulator, hard shit. No more fluffy analogs. They were all doing really gritty digital stuff. There may have been a bit of Mini Moog and ARP 2600 in there. Oh, look, Rezzy's checking me. Oh, who's going to check me? But if you listen to...
it wasn't that.
If you listen to... So listen to stuff and go, why are they achieving it and how are they achieving it? And if you watch documentaries about how Jean-Michel Jarre wrote Oxygen, it's inspiring as fuck. How Talking Heads recorded, what's the album, the Noise one with all the distorted faces? Oh, that one. Or how Depeche Mode did Construction Time Again. Or, research, or fucking Peter Gabriel. Research these people. Familiarize yourself with what technology was doing so you can replicate it. Because, man, I think that to really be able to program a synth, there's a lot of skill in that. And I don't have that skill. I'm good at fucking around. But as far as one of those people who can sit there and actually recreate a sound, I can't do that. And I see these guys on YouTube. It's like they figure out a Rubik's Cube. Like, I'm so... Oh, look! Secret Life of Synths. Rezzy, that's Steve. That's Agent 13, Steve. That's the Steve I was talking about. He did that. Good on him. Yeah, that guy's a genius. Like, legit. Anyway, so I'm going to shut up now. So learn these things. And I've always said it, man, noise. If you have any noisy effects, put them in there. Because noise adds depth to it. And if you can, put it through a speaker and mic it up. Rezzy, go.
So that prompts me to another thing. I was not checking your dates. I was checking when the Access virus came out. So around 97, there's like this cliff. Before then, we knew what synth everybody was using. We'd hear, within reason, you'd listen to it and you'd know it's a Prophet 5. What else could that be? It's a polysynth. And you'd listen to a lead and you'd know it was thin and buzzy enough to be an ARP 2600 or something. Like, you could peg these things to what sound they were. So going to the studio and replicating a sound, you couldn't do, first of all, because nobody could afford the whole collection. But if you could do it, you're like, oh, I definitely know which 3 knobs or which one preset that, famous Prophet 5 pad is. But sometime after that, and certainly today, you almost certainly can't listen to a random sampling of songs and know exactly which devices they used to get the sounds. This is kind of a different world, and it leads to freeing you to experiment and get close, as opposed to obsessively spending time dialing in to get the exact sound that somebody got on a recording. But then you mentioned dirt, and one of the things that certainly is lost with an emulation or a digital controlled synth is voltage going through dirty potentiometer is one of the most beautiful moments in turning the knobs on the front panel of a vintage synth. And when we've spoken about glitches or inconsistencies or vinyl and analog warmth, this is where that crap lives, and it's in the turning the knob, and it doesn't work linearly because it's got some corrosion on it, and you can hear that and capture that moment, and it's never going to happen again. That was the way you already wiped the dirt off the pot when you turned it, so you're not going to go through that same point of time. That's all. There's no real lesson in that. It's just some nostalgia.
Good
wanking,
stuff.
But yeah.
Thank you. Mark, I think we perfectly did not answer your question, and I apologize for that.
No, you answered it.
All right.
I wasn't asking for how do I do this. I was more asking how do other people approach creating sounds from more or less scratch.
Cool. And the good thing about your setup is that you've got a really good variety of gear where you can pull harsh 80s with your Korg Op 6 thing, and you can pull also fat 80s with your Behringer thing. Or the analog. Is that a Behringer thing? What's the analog? What's got
Behringer.
the knobs? What's got the knobs on it?
This?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's the Jupiter XM.
Yes, the XM. Thank you. I need to wash my mouth out with soap now. I apologize.
Yeah, see, I got confused because you said Behringer, but I also have a Wasp Deluxe
Yes,
Titan.
I remember you had the Wasp.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got a whole bunch of really awesome stuff there, and Brandon, that fucking K2000, man, it's so good. And they've just released the 2700, and it's like only $3,000. It's like 256 voice polyphony. Think about that.
More than I would ever need.
I know. Well, I think it's designed for people who do orchestration stuff, or you can stack everything up on the one note. Yes, you can. But this is what I was going to say about the virus. Fucking virus is that everybody around about that time, in came the hyper buzz, the mega buzz. What did they call it? The super buzz?
Super saw.
Fuck 'em. Everybody had that
Yep.
fucking sound. And
Stack of 3 detuned oscillators, but also slightly detuned voices.
it was like awful. They were everywhere. Like, it's a great sound, but it's just bloody awful. And it's really fun that isn't there actually like now there's a wave file that is the super saw. That's like a saw with a whole bunch of little jags on it.
Yeah, I mean, taking a sample of the same isn't quite the same as generating it and having evolving infinity. But
yeah, for sure. But isn't I thought
single period of it? Yes, there are plenty of samples going around of a single.
I was of the impression that somebody actually designed an analog super saw. I could be totally wrong on that. I don't know. I thought somebody
I
did.
think it does exist. I mean, I probably should look it up before even saying anything. But if it's a saw with a harmonic, basically,
yeah,
it's not,
saw with
it's
a
not
whole
that,
bunch of jags in it.
Yeah, it's not that complicated to do. But yeah,
I don't know. That's what I heard. But yeah, it's a great sound, and it was everywhere. And that was my one thing. That's my thing about presets is, that's why Ivan, you're going out to do your sound safari. Like that shit that's so fun, man. That's what this is all about. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Somebody rescue me.
So how do I get a sample of an MRI from inside the MRI?
You can't because of the magnets.
I didn't think so, but I want it.
Yeah. I wanted to do a whole album when I had my fucking brain scan. I wanted to get the whole album, just the sounds of an MRI. You can't take a speaker anywhere fucking near that thing.
Right.
Yeah, but it's just the most gorgeous sound. I tried it just reminded me of Aphex Twin. Ivan.
For an MRI, you want to talk to the technician, but couldn't you, like, if the room is big enough, you could use a directional mic.
Like a shotgun?
Yeah, and point it down the tube, and you'd probably get really close to it, to capturing it. Like, you're probably not going to be able to get all that wonderful resonance.
I'm sure there's... I'm sorry.
Enough of it might survive. I built an MRI room back in the late 90s at one of the big hospitals here. And like, we had a physicist, in to tell us where things could and could not be in that room. So
yeah, I work in healthcare and have experienced firsthand why you don't want to bring any of that shit into the room. And it is horror movie. It's suddenly you're in Poltergeist, and it will literally rip things out of your hand.
Yes,
it's insane.
I worked for GE Med for a while, and went to where they built the MRIs, and there's red lines on the floor that you pay close attention to.
They're there for a reason.
I'm sure there are samples online of MRIs, but that's a great example. I just lost Resi. That's a really great example of hearing a sound and going, how can I create this sound? Like this, that's a great sound.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come up with something completely different. Okay, give me another question.
Talking to somebody who has multiple emails and social media and whatnot, I guess, you've solved that by saying just email you, but how do I keep track when people are sending me messages in Instagram Messenger versus Facebook Messenger versus my email, and it's like, oh, I didn't get back to them for 2 weeks because I didn't realize it was in this messaging site versus the other one. Like, do I just build another spreadsheet?
I would be telling everybody to contact you via email.
Yeah.
I'd be putting your foot down, saying, even like I have an auto thing on Angelspit's Facebook. Okay. Does anybody give a fuck about Facebook anymore? I wish somebody would take Facebook out into a field and shoot it. Yes, that would be good. Just say, you have to email me. I have an auto thing on Angelspit saying, email me. I don't ever check messages. Email me. Same with fucking Insta crap and all that shit. Email me. People will eventually learn. Because if it's fucking important, dude, I'm not having a chit chat on Messenger about important shit. Mm-hmm. Like, I need to record and to log these emails and stuff. That's why text pisses me off, is that as soon as shit gets lost so fast. Yeah, email, man. That's what I reckon. Brain dead. Did that answer your question, Diana? Thumbs up. Awesome. Brain dead.
I was just going to say, you were talking earlier about your bow bending the wrong way, and you're like losing the clearance between the strings.
Yes.
It took me a while to find it, but it was something I was looking at, having a similar issue for a different problem. It was called a saltery bow, like Psaltery. I don't know if that would work or help you out, or if it's even big. I don't know how long they are. But it looks like it's got it almost looks like a bow saw that you'd go out and trim your trees with. But that might be a thing.
Thank you. I will look into that. Saltery. How do you spell it?
It's the Psaltery.
Psaltery.
Yeah.
All right, I'll look into it. Thank you.
Yep.
I have seen
That's all
them,
I
and
have.
they use parachute string as well, I think.
Is it? Ooh,
Yeah,
I had
something
no idea.
like that.
I don't even know what
Something
they're for.
fucking super hardcore. Ivan! You had your hand up. All right, accidental handage. Okay, that's fine. Does anybody else have a question they want to throw out? Butter, anything like that? Or do we want to call it? Because the sun is shining, and we want to be kids, and we want to go outside in the park and play.
Mm-hmm.
Was that dark? That was dark. Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us. This has been really good fun. And if you're on the Patreon, keep an eye on it because I'm going to be putting up more information about this insane instrument that is being built. Thank you so much for being part of this. You fucking rock. We are going to zoom on over, raid on over to MTV TV, and we are going to discover awesome new music on MTV TV. Bye.
Bye, everybody.